Alright guys, let's head down to my sewing machine. Please make sure you take note of how I am placing my side front on my center front. So you see how I did that. Now I'm going to start stitching. So once I get to the under bust, which is the notched point like I said earlier, I'm going to stop and tilt my fabric a bit, then continue to sew in the curved part. So you can see how I'm placing my side front, which is the bust cup, into the center front. And guys, when sewing this part, please do not rush, just take it gently and easily. So you can see how I'm placing it gently and making sure they are on same line. So I have the first side front sewn in, and this is how it looks like. Even without ironing yet, you can see how curved and beautiful it is looking. So in case you didn't get this part very well, don't worry, I'm going to sew in the second side so you can see it very well. So just pay close attention to this. Now I'm going to start stitching from my waistline. I'll place it this way, start stitching, and when I get to the under bust, I'll take up my presser foot, leaving my needle still in the fabric. Tilt it this way, just like I said earlier, then put down my presser foot and continue to stitch with just half of an inch. So when stitching this part, make sure you stitch with the exact allowance you measured while cutting. If not, your nipple to nipple measurement is not going to be accurate. It will either be too small or too wide. So make sure you stitch with the exact half-inch measurement you cut out for it. So I have sewn in the two side front, and this is how my armhole Princess Dart Bustier looks like. It's looking really fine. You can see that. So I'm going to go ahead to press open my seam lines, and this is how it looks like on the inside, looking really neat and nice. So guys, make sure to notch open your seam allowance to give this part some ease. You can see how I am notching it open, and I'm going to go ahead to press it with my pressing iron. So just to give this front part a little more glance, you can see how it's standing out, looking well cupped. Trust me guys, this can only be achieved if you cut your fabric with the right measurements. So guys, let's move to the next part, which is stitching the back piece together. Now I have the side back and the center back here. So watch closely how I am going to stitch this. This is just a normal princess dart. That is what I cut for the back, a normal princess dart with no waist or under bust tightening. You can see how I am placing the two pieces together. I am stitching and adjusting my side back on my center back. So guys, I am done with the first one, and this is how it looks like on the front part. You can see how flat it came out. This is before pressing with my pressing iron, so you can see how flat it came out, looking really nice and neat. And here is the second side of the back piece. So you see how I placed it in case you missed out on the first part. One thing you should take note of is how I started my stitching, which is from the waistline and then stitch it down to the armhole. I did just the same thing for the front piece, just the way I'm doing for the back piece. I did exactly the same thing. That is the best way and the most accurate way you can stitch together these two pieces to get a very fine outcome. Okay guys, I'm done with stitching my front and my back darts together. So this is the last piece for the back. So you can see how it looks like inside, looking really neat and beautiful. So what I'm going to do here is to take to my pressing table and press open my seam lines. And here, this is what I have after using my pressing iron. This is one part of the back piece, so I'm just going to trim off this excess.